In today's video, we're doing a full review of Octavian by Electimuss. So I've been testing out Electimuss Octavian from a sample, and we'll give this a go. I have been testing it on my skin, but for reviews I smell it on paper, so I don't have to wear it on skin again. What I get initially from this is a kind of slightly watery, fruity kind of quality in the opening, followed quickly by a slightly animalic, barnyard, woody oud accord or note. Saffron and pink pepper are listed. I think you get a little bit of that. Slightly more exotic spice in the opening. But like I say, you're going to get this slightly funky accord, and you're going to get a sense of something kind of watery and fruity. Speaking of the notes for this, I'll list you the official notes. It has saffron, pink pepper and Taif rose, a attar of roses, Bulgarian rose, olibanum, amber, Iranian oud and leather. On my skin, the initial introduction was not the most pleasant. It was a little bit too dirty for my liking. You do get this, again, slightly barnyard funky thing as a top note with this watery, sweet smelling thing also. You get little nuances of saffron and pink pepper, and you do get more of a pink, bright, airy, fresh rose accord in this as well. The Taif rose is listed. So you do get an element of that, but there's this kind of, on my skin it goes like dirty, kind of leathery, dirt kind of castoreum kind of vibe. Doesn't smell the most natural thing in the world. It smells a little bit more synthetic leaning, not, you know, the highest quality is the vibe that I get from it, and it gives me a little bit of a headache. So the introduction is a little bit odd. You're going to get this slightly funky oud accord. You're going to get a slightly dirty kind of animalic leather. You're going to get a slight mix of the saffron, pink pepper, and this kind of sweet, fruity, kind of musky quality. And that's what you're welcomed with the fragrance. Again, not mass appealing, not overly enjoyable, at least for my own taste, at least in the opening. The Taif rose is actually easier to smell on the paper test strip than it was on my own skin. On the skin it seems to get buried behind these kind of more dirty, kind of musky, woody, animalic notes, and it gets a little bit lost. On the paper you can smell it quite clearly. You get that kind of fresh, pink, rosy note. In my notes I did write that part of the opening did remind me of like smelling someone's like sweaty, dirty socks. Kind of, again, not particularly pleasant.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that? What's that, brother?
The accord in that opening is not totally friendly for a lot of people, I would say. But that doesn't last all that long. I would say 15-20 minutes in, that animalic, dirty, funky kind of off smell starts to tone away, and it becomes much more mellow and easier to wear. At that point, the rose does come through a little bit stronger on the skin. And like I say, it's a more fresh, pink, bright rose, a little bit of this kind of leathery, kind of castoreum-like accord underneath there, a little bit woody, leathery, with an overall kind of musky quality to the fragrance in general. As it dries down, you get a little bit more of an ambery, woody accord that is quite smooth. So there is something about this that actually does remind me, as it dries down at the kind of 5 to 6 hour mark, it starts to remind me a little bit of More Than Words by Xerjoff. They're not exactly the same, but they have a ballpark kind of vibe. So you're going to get this kind of Middle Eastern, woody, ambery, fruity rose oud combination that, you know, isn't all that unique. And like I say, reminds me of things like More Than Words. And like I say, you're going to get this kind of fruity, rose, woody, ambery kind of mixture that does smell kind of familiar. Coming on to performance for this one, I would say it's sitting relatively closer to the skin at around the 3 hour mark. At the 7 hour mark, I don't perceive any kind of change. It's actually remarkably linear after the initial funk of the top note kind of fades away. The top note is a little bit of a wild card, a little bit animalic, dirty, not mass appealing at all, off-putting, I would say, for probably a good number of people, unless you're kind of into that kind of thing. The dry down, much more mass appealing and easy to wear, and I can still smell it 12 hours in. So the longevity is very good, 12 hours longevity, but the projection and sillage isn't as strong as something like More Than Words by Xerjoff. That one seems to fill up a room. I don't get that feeling with this one, although the longevity is very long. The initial kind of funk, like I say, is gone within 20 minutes, and this kind of oud, accord, or woody note in the fragrance actually becomes very mellow and smooth, and yeah, very mellow and light in the background as it starts to dry down later. And I would say mixed with this kind of ambery, leathery-like accord, paired with it, along with obviously the kind of more bright pink kind of rose notes in there. And again, remains a little bit kind of fruity kind of vibe throughout. Altogether, I wasn't a huge fan of this one. I'm not, to be honest, particularly a fan of the brand. I think they're overpriced and maybe a little bit more of an influencer brand in the terms of they send a lot of full bottles to bigger reviewers, and I don't get the hype behind them. I smelled a number from this brand and none of them have impressed me personally. This one is another one. It's got a little bit, like I say, a bit more of a wacky opening, dries down, nothing special or unique. Smells like, you know, other fragrances that I've smelled in the dry down. This one is £395 for 100ml. For me, I couldn't recommend it at that pricing. I think it's a little bit nuts. So, hope you found that useful. If you are contemplating this brand, you know, test samples first, don't blind buy any full bottles from this one. As with anything, value and taste is subjective in a way. So I would say if you like it and you're happy to spend £400 on a bottle, then by all means, you know, don't let anyone put you off. I'm just trying to give them, you know, my personal take on things. Like I say, I'm not going to recommend this one. Hope you find it useful, and I will see you soon with some more videos. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Old man Harlem gives me Sunday headache, but that old man